Hey, it's State of State. We got your Nittany Line update. It's a football discussion with Tom and Justin, so kick back and press play.
With former Penn State and NFL defensive back Justin King, I'm Tom Hannafin. This is State of State. Please like, comment, subscribe, rate us, and turn on notifications. Follow us on social media at State of State Pod. Comment on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, you can become a member of our YouTube channel. For just 99 cents a month, you can get all upcoming episodes of State of State, plus our entire members-only playlist, ad-free, commercial-free. Hit the join button on our homepage or follow the link in the description of this podcast. State of State is presented by BetOnline. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with constant real-time odds in action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football to the NBA, college basketball, the NHL, and even UFC. Head to betonline.ag today and don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. State of State is presented by BetOnline. The game starts here. Hi, everyone, and welcome to State of State. I'm Tom Hannafin, flying solo today, reacting to the news that broke yesterday. Penn State's backup quarterback, Beau Pribula, has elected to enter the transfer portal and will not be staying with the team into the college football playoff. Of course, Penn State begins first-round action this Saturday, December 21st, hosting SMU at Beaver Stadium at noon Eastern on TNT. A huge moment for the team, and also this was a huge decision for Beau Pribula. Now, in the life of this show over the last few years, this is something that individually I thought could be a possibility. And I want to make this very clear. At no point did I feel that this was a possibility because of Beau Pribula's character. It just seemed like an odd man out type of situation. I drew comparisons to years ago when it was Sean Clifford, Drew Aller, and Christian Veilleux in the quarterback room. And it just kind of felt like Veilleux was the odd man out because you knew where Penn State was hoping to go with Drew Aller after Sean Clifford had finally left school. Veilleux obviously went to transfer on to Pitt and other places. This just felt similar, and this signals a handful of things. And that a lot of Penn State fans were asking the question, well, does this guarantee that Drew Aller is back in 2025? That is my expectation coming off of this. It would be odd for Pribula to leave if Drew Aller was also planning to leave and potentially going in to the NFL draft in 2025. My expectation, based on the way that I've seen Drew Aller progress from 2023 to 2024, is that it has been a very good progression, but there's still so much more that he can do. And especially the news that we learned very recently, that offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, is sticking with the program into 2025. Those pieces are intact, and it seems like Drew Aller should be back in 2025. But that's a part of this. This is a really difficult situation, and I've seen some discourse online, some good, some bad, surrounding this, in that Beau Pribula was put in an extremely difficult position. The transfer portal window in the winter is so poorly placed. It opened December 9th. It will close on December 28th. Now, there are examples through college football of players that are electing to enter the transfer portal, and their teams are playing in a bowl game or playing in the college football playoff itself. Some of them have had the opportunity or are electing to stay with their team through those playoff runs. Some of them are electing to just simply go into the portal and leave the team. That's what it sounds like Beau Pribula is doing. And it's unfortunate because, of course, he's a Pennsylvania kid. Playing for this team is something he's always wanted to do. Obviously cares about his team. Have consistently heard that he has great leadership qualities, is a great teammate, all those things. So this isn't a character thing. I can understand some people being ticked off that he's leaving the team, but this is an impossible situation for a young person because the writing was on the wall, in my opinion, of the way that this quarterback room was playing out. And I do want to take a second and just kind of look at the playing field for what Beau Pribula was kind of gauging within this quarterback room. So clearly, Drew Aller
the starter is going to be there potentially into 2025. So that makes sense. So you got to ask yourself, if you're Beau Pribula, am I comfortable sitting for another year and being, the number 2 quarterback, the gadget quarterback, getting showcased a little bit in this offense? He clearly has ability as a runner and as a passer. So I believe he's going to garner a good amount of interest nationally. Where he winds up exactly, I'm very curious to see. I think he can be a starter at the Big Ten level. God, I would really hate it if he transferred to Iowa and we had to play a Beau Pribula led team next year at Kinnick. But looking at the rest of the quarterback room, Jackson Smolik, redshirt freshman. Ethan Grunkemeyer, true freshman. Jack Lambert, redshirt freshman. This is no disrespect to Smolik and Lambert, but a lot of the conversation about the quarterback room outside of Auer and Pribula has been about how much the program thinks of Ethan Grunkemeyer, 6'2", 203 pounds, out of Ohio. Grunkemeyer has been described by James Franklin as this blend of skills between Drew Aller and Beau Pribula. And what we have heard that to be is the, closer to the passing capability of a Drew Aller, but also closer to the running ability of a Beau Pribula. I think it's clear that Drew is a more gifted passer than Beau, and Beau is a more gifted athlete and runner than Drew is. And credit to Drew, he's changed his body, he's changed his ability to contribute as a runner this year within this offense. That evaluation is encouraging, yet we have yet to see it in live in-game action. And you get a little bursts of it here. You can hear some things, maybe see some things in practice, or you can see some things within the blue-white game that might be encouraging. But there is some excitement around Grunkemeyer. And then also, let's not forget, as a part of the class of 2025, Beckham Kritza has signed as part of National Signing Day, 6'5", 190 pounds, out of Chaminade Madonna Prep in Boulder, Colorado. He was down to Texas A&M, Colorado, and Colorado State as some of his final schools that he was looking at. So going to Penn State is a big deal for this kid. Kritza, great size, but coming in at 190 pounds as a true freshman is going to have to work on his body. So it does make you think that if you're projecting ahead to 2025 and you're Beau Pribula, Aller's going to be the guy. They like Grunkemeyer's skill set. They maybe want to go to Grunkemeyer in 2026 if Grunkemeyer, that there's another thing. Does Grunkemeyer want to stick around and hang out until 2026 to be the guy? Sounds like that could be the case. And then Kritza maybe taking that time to really work on himself. And again, none of this is against Jackson Smolik or Jack Lambert. It's just these are the evaluations and the buzz that we've heard around Kritza and Grunkemeyer. It just puts Beau Pribula in this extremely difficult situation that you can see the skill set. You can see what he's capable of doing. His stats lifetime at Penn State: passing the football 37 to 56, 66% completion percentage, 424 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception, passer rating of 179.1. Rushing the football, 94 lifetime carries at Penn State, 571 yards rushing, averaging 6 yards per carry, 10 rushing touchdowns, and has the big play ability. So that type of productivity, 19 touchdowns in 2 years as a backup quarterback, being utilized, especially more this season within Andy Kotelnicki's offense, as kind of that changeup, that middle relief pitcher. You can throw him in there and he can do some things in the passing game, but obviously he changes things when it comes to the RPO game. There are so many programs that are going to look at his skill set and be like, we can build around a quarterback who is probably more gifted as a runner than he is as a passer, but he doesn't limit you as a passer. If anything, wherever Beau Pribula lands, he's going to find the opportunity to throw the football more and really prove what he's all about. I think that's great. This situation, I think, is more an indictment on the current setup for the transfer portal. I completely endorse Beau Pribula's decision to take this time between now and the 28th to work as hard as he possibly can, taking visits, taking these conversations with other schools, and trying to find the right circumstance for him. And I know there's a lot of people that might say you should have stayed with your team through the college football playoff. Okay, devil's advocate. Say that Beau Pribula stays with Penn State and plays in the game against SMU on the 21st. All right. Well, then if you project ahead then Penn State would play in the Fiesta Bowl on December 31st. And that would potentially be against Boise State. Obviously, Boise State is waiting, but if Penn State were to go on, it could be potentially Penn State versus Boise State in Phoenix on the 31st. So New Year's Eve, after the transfer portal has closed. So you're going to play in one game potentially and then not really be able to contribute to your team later in the playoff, later in the bracket, when things start to matter more, when the stakes go up and maybe they need you a little bit more. You could make the argument of, hey, you could put something on tape or something like that, but then it's something else the other team doesn't have to prepare for. It is one game, and I know it's an important game. This is a historic moment. Penn State hosting a college football playoff game. It is historic. Beau Pribula had to make a business decision. Beau Pribula had to make a decision that was going to be best for him. And if he can take this remaining time in the transfer portal window to really commit himself to figuring out what program could be best for him, what is going to be the right situation for him and his family, that he feels like he's in the best position to succeed, I think he has to do that. And it really does come down to that decision for him and his family. Before I go any further, I do want to take a moment to talk to you guys about Future Fans Sports. Have you ever tried to explain football to a little kid? Now, speaking of family, I've tried to do this. I've tried to have this conversation with full-grown adults. For instance, you're explaining how downs work in football, and if somebody has never heard of that, it takes a while. It's a little bit difficult. So imagine trying to have that conversation with a little kid that you want to help them learn the game of football. It's nearly impossible. But Future Fans Sports is a new brand that helps little kids become big fans by embedding the rules of football into parallel games and activities. The way that they teach is in these storybook-led activity boxes, and it's absolutely genius. So to my point, instead of trying to explain downs in football, they have a kid play a beanbag toss game with things like 4 tries and 6 points embedded into it. And then later they connect those concepts back to football through the storybook that guides the entire Future Fans experience. Check out the reviews of this thing. They have a 4.9 on Amazon, Future Fans Sports. Now, this was created by dads, by parents. They invented this, and they figured this thing out for the rest of us. And especially, we have so many people who watch and listen to this podcast that are parents and want to enjoy the game with their kids, with their families. This is a wonderful tool. Imagine your kid asking to watch on Saturdays or Sundays with you and being right there alongside of you for all the ups and downs with your favorite team. And that's what dreams are made of. And Future Fans exists to make them a reality. Future Fans, it's only $49.99, futurefans.com. And if you use the code Penn State, that's PENNSTATE, you'll get 15% off. That's futurefans.com, code PENNSTATE, Penn State, and unlock a lifetime of memories around sports this holiday season with Future Fan Sports. Getting back to this conversation about Beau Pribula, I completely endorse his decision to go into the transfer portal and try and find the right home for him. I think he has so much value that he can offer to a different school. Mentioned the remaining quarterback room for Penn State, and I think this puts a lot of pressure on Ethan Grunkemeyer, and we've talked about that public perception of him and that evaluation that's been put out there by the coaching staff. So now it's this situation where it's like, man, Drew Aller is arguably one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever play at Penn State. And it's the thing I've talked about, is that I don't even know if Drew Aller's full skill set is really going to be understood or realized at the collegiate level. And I expect him to be a part of the 2026 NFL draft, and he could be highly coveted. He would be highly coveted if he went out this year. But whomever follows Drew Aller is going to have a very tall task ahead of them. And then also just projecting out, we talked about offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki being up for the West Virginia job just within the last handful of weeks, and then announcing he's going to be coming back for 2025. Does Andy Kotelnicki stay into 2026? He's already a hot name as an offensive coordinator. My gut says you're fortunate to get 2 seasons out of Andy Kotelnicki at Penn State, and then you've got to figure something else out at quarterback, or figure something else out at offensive coordinator, rather. So it makes me look towards, does Penn State promote from within? And that's something I've talked about before, is that the relationship Danny O'Brien has with quarterbacks, has with James Franklin, all the way back to his days at Maryland playing quarterback for the Terrapins. Danny O'Brien has this relationship that working with a guy like Grunkemeyer from day one, with Grunkemeyer stepping on campus, and then soon Beckham Kritza, that familiarity could breed into something really special if that is the direction Penn State chooses to go. If Kotelnicki leaves at the end of 2025, early 2026, or does Penn State go out and get themselves another full-fledged offensive coordinator? Do they believe, and does O'Brien believe he's best in a situation where he's just working as a quarterback's coach and working directly with the quarterbacks? And not to say that that's a bad thing whatsoever. To have great position coaches is a luxury in college football. And Penn State's very, very fortunate at a number of positions to have outstanding position coaches. The more you can do to retain those people, the better. So I'm curious to see what that winds up being for Penn State in the long term. This is the right decision for Beau Pribula. And I think the thing that really kills Penn State fans about this, and it's not an anger thing, it's almost it was sad. Like when this news came out, it was a little heartbreaking. And I know so many Penn State fans, myself included, when you saw him running around with that number 9 on his chest and on his back, a lot of people made comparisons to Trace McSorley. And Sean Clifford has spoken extremely highly of Beau Pribula and what he's capable of being, and had some wonderful words to say on social media. A lot of his teammates were also saying some wonderful things on social media. Trace McSorley in the past has spoken very highly of Beau Pribula. And those memories were drawn up. And, Justin and I have talked so much on this show about that emotional equity that quarterbacks, players in general, but quarterbacks develop with fans. And to see a quarterback that was reminiscent of the way that Trace McSorley played, I think was so special. We've had Mike Poorman of statecollege.com on this show, and he's talked about that Beau has great leadership qualities. And there was that question in 2023 and into the offseason of 2024 of who the leader is on the offense. A lot of those questions got answered by the end of camp. And then once the season was underway, it was very clear that Drew Aller had command of this offense. Credit to Nick Dawkins at center, also clearly a leader on this offense, which is really exciting. And I would argue that Katron Allen is a leader by example, and he certainly is a spark for this offense and for this team. The team seems to feed off of his momentum when he gets going. But that question of, is Drew Aller truly leading the offense? And it's been answered this year. I think it's very, very clear. But the fact that you had your number 2 quarterback, Beau Pribula, able to do that and galvanize guys and create a spark offensively when he got in there, whether it was just with the 2s or if he was in a gadget situation with the 1s, Beau Pribula certainly is a good teammate. And I think it's the thing that's really going to, break the hearts of a lot of Penn State people, is that there is a world where Penn State fans would have loved to have seen him potentially be the number 1 quarterback. And would it have harkened back to those days of Trace McSorley where anything could happen? It was such a fun team to watch. We all know about that 2016 Big Ten championship team, what the Penn State football team did in 2017, Trace McSorley and Saquon Barkley. It's just, a match made in heaven, just a tremendous tandem that we were able to see. So seeing Beau Pribula, not just because he was wearing the number 9, but just played in a similar way, if anything, was just kind of like a physically bigger version of Trace McSorley. So I look at what Pribula is capable of, and I believe there are so many teams in the Power 4 anywhere in FBS football that would kill to have somebody with his potential, his skill set, his leadership qualities, his intangibles. And even the statement that he put out on social media, you could tell that this decision was extremely difficult for him and his family. As I mentioned, this is a Pennsylvania kid that all he wanted to do was play for Penn State and got that opportunity, but needs to figure out something different just because of circumstance. So I sincerely wish all the best for Beau Pribula. Now this creates a challenge for Penn State because, yes, you did utilize Beau Pribula in select packages that provided a changeup, just provided a different look for defenses to look at. This is just another thing, unfortunately, for this coming weekend that Penn State won't be able to put on tape and SMU won't need to deal with. I don't necessarily know if they're going to go into the quarterback room, potentially have somebody step in and utilize that package with a different player. So I am interested to see if that actually materializes, but I think it's going to be the Drew Aller show, which shouldn't surprise anybody. But if you now you do have to think about, in the event of a catastrophic situation, say Drew were to go down. Okay, now there's a lot of questions. having Beau there was a nice safety blanket. And we've seen a handful of instances over the last few years where Drew has gotten banged up and Beau has gone right in, and it's a tremendous comfort. I don't need to remind Penn State fans of the ill-fated situation with Sean Clifford getting injured at Iowa and Taquan Roberson going in. No disrespect to Taquan Roberson, but clearly your backup quarterback wasn't prepared to go. So this, to me, is Beau's decision to make, but then it puts pressure on Penn State to make sure that they have potentially Ethan Grunkemeyer and or another quarterback in that room ready to go within the college football playoff to be able to step in the event of an injury to Drew Aller, God forbid. But still, this is now the change you have to make. And this program is pretty intuitive and they're pretty intelligent. They have very, very good relationships with their players. So this is something that I would speculate the team has known about or had a hunch about for a little bit. And now just that this information is coming out, the week before the game, this is probably something Penn State has been aware of and allowing Beau to make this decision and probably having very thorough conversations with him. I have a tremendous amount of respect for James Franklin, the way that he deals with players and the way that he deals with families. It's upfront. He keeps things private, and he is consistently doing what is best for the player from what I've understood over the years. So this is bittersweet. It really is. Beau Pribula entering the transfer portal just a week before the college football playoff gets underway. I think your heart says I would love to have Beau Pribula for this game. One last hurrah, so to speak. And I know some fans will be a little ticked off that he's leaving the team, and he could stick with the team for a few more weeks. But honestly, if you do that, then you sacrifice the ability to go into the transfer portal and to go on those visits and have those conversations. If you're immersed in getting ready for a game, you take away from that time spent. Beau needs to spend this time finding the right next stop for him. A lot of questions now at quarterback going forward. Tremendous amount of confidence, obviously, in Drew Aller to be the guy. But now, what does the future look like at quarterback? We are going to do our best to keep an eye on that. And especially this news changes things a little bit for Penn State's offense. Very curious to see how it plays out against SMU this Saturday.
Thank you all so much for joining us. This episode and our entire library of shows is available now on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Please like, comment, subscribe, rate us, and turn on notifications. Follow us on social media at State of State Pod. Comment on our YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, you can become a member of our YouTube channel for just 99 cents a month. You can get all upcoming episodes of State of State, plus our entire members-only playlist, ad-free, commercial-free. Hit the join button on our homepage or follow the link in the description of this podcast. State of State is presented by Bet Online and by Blue White Outfitters.